Welcome, people of God, and welcome to the Gospel Arcade Studios, and welcome to the maiden edition of Gospel Arcade Hot Seat. On the Hot Seat, we're going to be talking about everyday problems, and we're going to be looking for solutions in the Bible. I am your host, Dominic, and I have the special privilege of inviting Apostle Asari, who is going to do the dissecting of the topic of the day. And the topic of the day is spiritual foundations. Apostle, you are welcome to the Hot Seat.
Thank you, Mr. Dominic, and God bless you.
Yes, spiritual foundations. What exactly is this?
To define spiritual foundation, we need to first define the physical aspect of it, that is foundation. And I wanted you to and your viewers to know that everything on this earth stands on the foundation. Your life, the tree, our building. So that's why we are linking it to the natural. So it is important for us to understand what the natural foundation is. And natural foundation is the unseen part of the main building. Is the very important part of the building. Is the part that carries the whole load of the building. Is the part that determines the height of the building. We normally say the higher the building, the deeper the foundation. And also it is the part that determines when there is crack and there is faulty things happening in the building. So if we now know what the physical foundation is, now let's go to the spiritual aspect. And we thank God that Jesus gave a clear understanding of the spiritual foundation. He said, first link this foundation thing to our human life by using two people. The first is building on a rock, a solid rock. And he said that the rain came, the flood came, and then the wind also came. And he said, when these three things came, the building was able to stand the test of time. But the other person who built on the sand couldn't stand the test of time. And all as a result of the foundation. And he's saying that for you to survive on this earth, you need to have a good foundation. And if we want to talk about the spiritual aspect, we have to still connect it to the Bible. When you read Isaiah 28 verse 16, Jesus said, or God said, He is now laying a new foundation in Zion with a sure tested stone. And that tells you that in the olden days, Zion is having a problem with foundation. And the truth of the matter is that if your foundation is weak, that means you yourself, your life will be weak. So spiritual foundation in a nutshell is the spiritual aspect of your life. How spiritual your life is. What the spiritual part like. How you are connected to God. Or how your family, that is your background, is linked to God. If it's not linked to God, Jesus says that it is a weak foundation. So to answer your question, we need to have a good foundation.
Okay, thank you for that initial explanation. But if we need to move a little forward concerning this family spiritual foundation.
Yeah.
How does that, because we are brought up, you have parents, let's say you are married, you have a father, you have a mother, and your wife has a father and a mother. So we're all coming from various backgrounds.
Yeah.
So now how does your parents, the spiritual background of your parents, how does that become your own foundation?
God, in His own wisdom, when creating this world or creating the human race, made a system, and He used family as the base. So everybody that comes into this world must go through this family system. And because the family is the base. If the family is not strong, is not spiritually strong, that means anybody that comes through it has a problem. Example is Reuben. Reuben is a base on its own. Reuben, Jacob's son. Bible says that when Jacob was about to die, he called all the 12 sons and started prophesying, we will say started giving word of knowledge concerning his sons. And when it comes to Reuben, he says you are a stable water. And he talks about their temper, how they have quick temper. That means Reuben's foundation is based on quick temper. So anytime you see anybody from Reuben's lineage, you can see the traces of quick temper in it. And we have example, Moses as an example. So the family is very important and is linked to everybody.
Okay, so how does one know that he has a problem with his foundation?
Because foundation is the basis and it determines the height, the strength of every building or everyone's life. When there are certain occurrences, we can use that to identify the kind of foundation that you carry. Example is when you have a bad foundation. Mm-hmm. One thing you will notice is that you will be having serious problems because the foundation will be fertilizing the problem that you have. Okay. Example is somebody who always gets sick, and anytime this sickness is being treated, you find yourself falling into another serious sickness again. That tells you that your foundation, there's a problem with it. Another example is somebody who likes women. We will link that to David. I thank God that the Bible gives us more examples about these things. David is coming from a foundation that have problem with women. How will you can see that anytime David make a move, you see a woman around her. Even it got to a time that David was sick. And the people around him think they have to give him a woman. But the question is, where is this woman thing coming from? Even David himself, he was born out of wedlock. And that tells you that Jesse also has the same problem. And is going down. So from Jesse, who again? Jesse's father, who also, when we check, we can see that has a problem. And where is it going from? You go down to the foundation, and that is where we got Judah. Judah has a problem with women. I learned through the Bible, I realized that Judah has problem with men, that he has to sleep with his son's wife. And all these things are samples of bad foundation. So for you to identify or know that this is a foundational problem, it depends on the occurrences, how the thing often occur.
Okay, so basically, dependent on how or the kind of problems that are emerging in one's life, one can actually notice a trend.
Yes.
Okay. So, is it important to know the foundational problems of one's spouse before getting into marriage?
This is a question that is very important, because those two couples coming together are coming to form another foundation. So if the two foundations are not strong or are not well done or well planned, that means the foundation they are building is also wrong. So before two people come together, they must know their foundation, work on it before they come together. Because if two weak foundation mix together, let's say you have a sound foundation based on what Jesus said, the woman is his family is based on a sand foundation, the man too, the same thing. What do you think will happen? It will be the same problem. Example is Ahab and Jezebel. When you look at their background, you see where they are coming from. And when they came together, you also see what they produce. So anybody that marries must make sure that you check the two foundations and work on it before you come together.
Okay, because if we are to look at the traditional setting, families tend to do some personal investigations about themselves before that one happens. So now, how do we really go about, like a man, how does a man go about doing that for his spouse to be?
One, we thank God that when Jesus was sleeping, he said, I'm not leaving you alone, I'm leaving you a comforter, someone who will guide you.
Okay.
When you are getting into such situation, you need a spiritual being to guide you. And man cannot do that because man is not fully spiritual. But we have an advocate, a helper, a guider who is a spirit being and understands and sees everything. So when you consult the Holy Spirit, he will give you the picture of the woman you are going to marry, and will also give you the picture of yours, and he will tell you whether the two can be meshed together, because there are certain families that cannot be meshed together based on their spiritual foundation.
This is getting interesting. So, so what happens when there is the issue of love comes into it first, and the woman or the man is madly in love with the woman, and then this issue comes up. How are we supposed to handle it?
What we will do is that, God is wonderful. He sees beyond. And I want to refer this situation to Isaiah 28, verse 16. He's talking about Zion. Zion can be a couple who are Christian, but there is 40 foundations. In Obadiah 17, it says that on Mount Zion there shall be 1, deliverance; 2, there shall be holiness; and then the house of Jacob shall possess their possession. If somebody say you possess something that is yours already, that means there is something wrong somewhere. Mm-hmm. And when he was talking, he mentioned deliverance first. So when we link this Obadiah statement to Isaiah 28, and he says that this time he is going to lay the foundation. And he mentioned the type of components, because in every foundation, the components also determines how strong the foundation will be. So he said he will lay a foundation with a sure tested stone. In construction, if you want to lay a foundation, the concrete you do, we don't just mix sand, stone and cement and just pour it because we are laying foundation. We have ratios that determines the strength of the foundation, and when we mix it, we do what we call the concrete test. Concrete test, sorry, I have to take you through. Concrete test, we will do a slump test and then cast the concrete, put it in water for 21 days. Then we send it to a crushing machine to crush it to know the strength of the concrete. And that will also help in determining the strength of the foundation. Okay. So if we have done all these things, and these things, the person, you can't just take stone or any metal and crush that concrete and say, oh, the way I crush it, I'm able to know that this concrete is heavy. No, we have a machine that does it. So the only person who can test this foundation, according to the Bible, is the Holy Spirit. So if we are able to consult him, that is the Holy Spirit, he will take us through the deliverance Obadiah is talking about, make our foundation holy, that is acceptable before God. Then we can possess our possession as a couple.
Okay. We thank you very much for this insight that you've given us. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the first part in the series, so stay tuned for the second part. Thank you.